One of the more popular quotes in politics is power is transient, but many people, or should I say politicians, forget this while at the end of affairs. Or just like Lord Acton said, power corrupts, and the rest of the quote you do know. The purpose or the intent of this video is not to make a catalog of political quotes, but rather to serve as a preemptive caution to Nigerian politicians on a possibility that could be their reality if they keep expressing and displaying the same nonchalancy to the plight of the majority of Nigerians. Well, it is no news that one of the darkest days in Nigeria's recent history was on the night of October 20, 2020, when the military opened fire on peaceful protesters converged at the Lekki toll gates who were calling for an end to police brutality. The result was the death of scores of unarmed protesters. But what many don't know or remember is that on the same date, some 9 years earlier, on October 20, 2011, one of the Arab world and Africa's longest serving military leader at the time, Muammar Gaddafi, fell. Even though many still argue that his fall was orchestrated by the US and the West, what they probably failed to give a proper appraisal was the significance of a remote event in the scheme of these big affairs. This remote event would later go on to change the political demography of that region, toppling a number of governments and regimes. This event came in the form of the self-immolation by Mohammed Bouazizi in December 2010. But before I go further, I would like to ask, how long can an individual or a people endure and persevere in the face of oppression while being pushed to the wall of extremities? Well, on the 17th of December 2010, a young Tunisian man by the name Mohamed Bouazizi felt enough was enough by setting himself on fire after local authorities seized his goods and fined him for selling without a permit. This sparked a burst of outrage from the people because earlier that same year, in March, another Tunisian, a 36-year-old street vendor by the name Abdesalem Trimech, had also set himself on fire in the town of Monastery after local authorities had harassed and seized his goods. But this didn't get much media coverage or public outrage like Bouazizi's did. Bouazizi's was the one that broke the camel's back. This outrage would later lead to the resignation of the country's authoritarian leader, President Zain el-Abidine Ben Ali, who had ruled for 23 years. This was, however, not the end of the impact of the outrage, as its influence would later be felt in other parts of North Africa and the Arab world, where regimes such as that of Hosni Mubarak of Egypt, Muammar Gaddafi of Libya, and Ali Abdullah Saleh of Yemen were toppled. Now back to the Nigerian scenario. There is a growing discontent amongst the populace, and what many of Nigerian politicians don't realize is that they are sitting on a keg of gunpowder. Events gone by both within and outside the country in the last couple of years is a pointer to this growing discontent. In 2019, a former fourth citizen of the country was humiliated in Germany, and in 2020, we had the NSAS protest. And in the last 3 years, we've seen the military take over in some of our neighboring West African countries, citing issues similar to what the country currently faces as their excuses for the takeover. And just this year, we've had the End Bad Governance protest.